everyone, my name is Jen and this is Beast Has a Plants, where we talk about all things houseland and home design. Welcome back. I have for you another episode of my series, the Houseplant Alphabet. This is a series where I introduce you some of my houseplants. We talk about my students growing them and what conditions they are currently being grown in inside my home. Just a reminder, I'm not a plant expert of any kind and this is just going to be my experience and not a definitive care guide. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the Raphidophora Tetrasperma. Look how much this guy has grown since the last time you saw him. Ooh, I got this guy as a teeny tiny 2-leaf cutting. These are the original 2 leaves on the plant. It's this one and this one. I got it as a 2-leaf cutting at the end of January, beginning of February. This is what it looks like now. It has outgrown its support pole. But this is actually not the only Raphidophora Tetrasperma that I own. I have another one that you probably haven't seen in a while. So this is my other Raphidophora Tetrasperma. This is actually my original one. I had this one before I had that one, and this one I got in a Facebook purge probably over a year ago now. I got this one when like the Raphidophora Tetrasperma was like a very hot plant and you couldn't find it anywhere, so you had to buy it online. Now they're like everywhere, but I still like this plant quite a bit. You can imagine, with this one being significantly smaller than the other one, that I've had quite a time with this plant. I really had to learn how to take care of it and what it prefers. And so it's a lot smaller than the other one. So what I've learned from this plant is that it's actually quite prone to overwatering. And when it's overwatered, it doesn't necessarily immediately get root rot like a lot of other plants, but instead it's kind of prone to leaf rot in my experience. So when you overwater it, the roots will be fine, but they'll like, I guess, push the water all the way up to where the leaves are. That's not a technical explanation. That's just me theorizing. But well, I don't have any leaves left that have rotten, but they're probably on my Instagram stories if you want to go look for that. But it'll look like, if you look at the back of the leaves, when you overwater, it's very evident in the back of the leaves because it'll look damp. Like it'll look like you burst all of the cells in the plant tissue, and it'll look definitely much more like wrinkly and frail, and almost like transparent. And then after a while, those sections of the plant will start to just rot off. And so I've had to cut off quite a few leaves of this plant. So you can see that like the stem down here has quite a few leaves lost. So I really had to learn to cut back on watering this plant. And then I also repotted it into a terracotta pot, which helps to wick away moisture. I really don't like terracotta, but I feel like with a plant like this, where I was like losing quite a few leaves to overwatering, even when I was like being very careful to not water very frequently at all, I just that that was kind of like the only solution. The mixture in this pot is also, there's like a lot of organ bark in here, like a lot more than my usual mix. And so far it's pretty happy. It's probably not the happiest plant, but it has recovered quite nicely. It took a very long time though for this plant to grow a new growth point. And I had to grow a new growth point because although a lot of the leaves I had to cut off from like the leaf rot, I also accidentally snapped one of the leaves completely off when I had an indoor greenhouse. The opening of the indoor greenhouse is a little bit lower than where like the shelf like stops. So it just like, I was pulling it out to water it and I snapped off like a section. So I cut it off and it took a long time to grow a new growth one. That's why this one is like so much smaller than the other one. So this one is in soil, but I think I might actually transfer it into Leca. I don't know yet. I can't decide because the other one is doing so much better and the other one's in Leca. I don't know, but I kind of have like sentimental value towards this one, and it's taken me so long to get it to this point where it like looks semi-okay, and if I transfer it, it's going to put it into shock and it's going to take a long time for it to acclimate to the new medium. So I don't know, yeah. But yeah, so that's this one. This is the other one. It started from a teeny tiny baby cutting, but it rooted up pretty quickly and relatively easily, and then after it grew some roots in, I think I had it mostly in water for the longest time, and then I think I also transferred it to moss for a while, but I think it was mostly in water. After it rooted up, I transferred it into Leca, and after I transferred it into Leca, it just like took off, and now we've had several leaves in a row now where it has had full like fenestrations versus like the leaves down here that just has like one split. These have like pretty much all of the splits. So I'm excited for this one to grow bigger and mature. I think I might take a cutting from it soon, which is like kind of scary because it took me so long to get it to this long and this big, but it's outgrown its totem and it's only one stem, and I think this plant kind of looks funny when it's one stem like this. So I kind of want like a fuller base, so I might have to take some cuttings soon. Okay, let's talk about lighting. So this one is on the shelf. It's under the Scentsy Grow Light. The other one is also under a Scentsy Grow Light in another room. That one's further away from the grow light. This one is pretty much like directly underneath the grow light. These are pretty flexible in terms of lighting. They could probably even survive in a little bit of a lower light condition. I think that they would also honestly be probably okay in like a little bit of direct lighting. Probably not like direct lighting like directly underneath the sun all day long, but like a little bit of direct lighting, I think it would also be totally fine. It's generally a pretty flexible plant in regards to lighting. In regards to watering, this plant I've mentioned before can be a little bit sensitive to overwatering. I don't know if that's maybe an effect of this plant being tissue cultured, because a lot of people have said that. My general stance on tissue culture is that a lot of plants are tissue cultured. It's generally a good thing, and a lot of plants are tissue cultured without the general public being knowing that it's tissue cultured. But sometimes kind of like weird things can happen in like the chain of plants being tissue cultured, and people have theorized that when the Raphidophora Tetrasperma was being tissue cultured, it created kind of like a plant that was just a little bit more fragile, and a plant that like the leaf texture is a little bit thinner, so therefore can be a little bit more sensitive to overwatering. I don't know if that's true, because I'm going to assume that this one for sure is probably tissue cultured. I don't know whether or not the other one is tissue cultured, because I did get it before like the whole tissue culture discussion happened. Doesn't mean that it wasn't, but I'm not sure. So I'll leave the opinion up for you to decide whether or not, you know, the overwatering sensitivity comes from being tissue cultured or not, or maybe, you know, you don't have a problem with it being overwatered at all, and maybe it's just a me thing. And then let's talk about humidity. I don't have this in any special humidity at all. I used to have the other one, the soil one, in the mini indoor greenhouse, which obviously had very high humidity levels. I don't even really think that it grew any better. Like, I think this current one grows much quicker outside of any added humidity than that soil one ever grew, even with a lot of added humidity. So I really don't think that humidity is a huge factor for this plant at all. I am in ambient room humidity, which for me is around 50%. For propagation, these are quite easy to propagate. It will work especially better if you have a fresh aerial root like this one does. That's a fresh aerial root right there. So you would just cut in between two nodes. That's the node where the aerial root comes out of. That's another node, so you would just cut in between, like right here. You can stick this in water, NL root. You can put it in moss, put in perlite, put whatever you want. These are quite easy to root. And then you just plant it back into the pot to create a fuller plant. So my experience with this plant in Leca so far has been really, really good. It grows extremely quickly in Leca. I've also noticed that it responds really well if you give it, you know, fresh nutrient water as it's trying to push out a new leaf. Sometimes you can get the plant to create a little bit of a bigger leaf when you do that, because you're giving the plant a lot of added nitrogen, which is, you know, important for leaf formation. It outgrows the support like beams you give it very, very quickly. So a lot of people will give this plant like a whole trellis to climb on, just because you'll likely have to find very, very long sticks or support, or you know, bamboo poles or whatever. So yeah, I might do that, or I might propagate. I don't know. I haven't really decided yet. I should propagate. Okay, I think that's all I have to tell you about this plant. If you don't already have one, I would recommend you get one. I do like this one quite a bit. Alright, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!